Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Happy Monday. Happy National Championship Game Monday, meaning following this Monday is a new beginning for everyone. Fresh start, fresh page with similar chapters that you know. And also, happy Monday before yet another mammoth weekend in Bearcat sports. That's right. On Thursday, first off, it's the New Heights, linking up with Cincy Reigns, getting you a nice little live podcast premiere viewing at Nippert Stadium. Then next, of course, this Saturday, it will be the second spring game of the Scott Satterfield era. The second spring game in the Big 12. The second spring game yet again here that we're going to be bringing you wall-to-wall coverage. Keegan will be there. Chad will be there. Everyone will be there. It'll be a fantastic thing to take in as Satterfield in year two rocks and rolls. Yet again, it's also a Monday where I get to bring in my guys 30 minutes early this time. We're going to have a nice clean show in and out. We're not going to go WrestleMania tonight. We're going to be great. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome in the guys, the pals, the crew, the squad. That's right. Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel. How are we?
Doing good. So it was a gorgeous day at Nippert Stadium.
Okay.
Saw watched the Eclipse with Wes Miller and Molly Alvey and Jordan Bishel, all right outside the Linder Center. Molly was the MVP. Molly had the glasses. Nobody had glasses.
Oh gosh.
Molly Alvey, the volleyball coach, had a bag of Eclipse glasses. So she
good.
passed
So
them
she
out.
hooked everyone up. Yeah.
She took care of everybody. So shouts out to Molly Alvey for being key. Kelce was on campus with me today, beginning her apprenticeship with Reagan, learning how to take pictures and become
you never
part
start
of the
them too young, man. You know?
Put them to work.
Yeah, for a second I thought the four of you guys were just passing around the same pair of glasses.
No. She had a whole box with she had everybody hooked up.
There we go. Yeah, I'm down in Florida, so I only got 63% coverage, which just seemed like a cloudy day. For
like 97% here.
Yeah. Then I think back in Indy they got 100% full coverage. But some really cool pictures. You saw the Nippert Stadium picture. That was awesome.
It was eerie. I mean, it was eerie seeing it like dark in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah,
it was eerie.
Yeah, people said it just was very still. It seemed like everything just like stopped for the second, which is awesome. It's another wild thing. Aaron, do you have your tinfoil hat ready? Is there conspiracies behind this eclipse today? I mean, how are you feeling, man?
Anytime you have a celestial event, there's plenty of people running around talking about rapture and blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah, I heard a little something about the fourth dimension or something. Some trying to send up rockets.
Here's the thing: we've lived through like a number of these in our lives.
Right.
All the raptures.
Nothing has ever happened. Like the clock, the universe hasn't started spinning backwards. Nobody's heads have flown off. Like nothing is happening. Yeah. We're just the sun and the moon are just doing one of these.
Yeah, just passing by. I think the more and more as social media is just growing, the behemoth that it is, it's just more open avenues for random people to come on and shout their thoughts on things. Yes, crazy people.
What about this time? That's how they get you worked up. Yeah. The last time it was fine. But this time the Eclipse is going to be crazy.
Yeah,
I was full in on the Eclipse.
Yeah, let's hear about it, Roy. What was your Eclipse experience? How are you?
I went out to New Point, Indiana, so it was about an hour west, right off 74.
Wow.
Went there so we could be in the totality. I think it had like 3 minutes and 47 seconds or something like that. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm kind of into like science and astrology and that kind of stuff. So I really appreciated it. I thought it was super cool.
You took a day off work for the Eclipse?
I took a half day. I went into work today. I was like thinking about, am I gonna go? I don't know. And then there's like no one was in there, as you can imagine. The engineers, they love like science, math. So there's a lot of astrology.
Most offices were completely off today.
Yeah,
and some schools full day off.
It was. Well, that's the other thing too. A lot of the schools were off, so then like the people with kids, they just
parents,
just took the day off.
There you go.
But
makes sense.
I was very impressed. I loved it. I nerded out.
Did you have the glasses?
I had the glasses. My eyes did kind of hurt though after a while because I kept trying to say like, I kept testing it like, oh, I'm just gonna see what would happen if I looked at it for a brief second. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, I did it. I thought I had some polarized glasses. They would have been nice. Because I didn't have the special cardboard ones until I had some given to me. But looked right up into the sun, man. I tell you what, they don't lie about that little dark circle you see for a while. So
yeah,
I think I'm back though. I think I'm fully back in this one. There we go. So that's
you have
Eclipse.
a total eclipse of the heart, Ryan?
Don't know that reference. I think it's one of those moments where we get at the end with Skin's question where he kind of gets out of my timeline a little bit.
Turn around.
Oh yeah. I know that song. I just not by title though.
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Beautiful song. Beautiful song.
I don't know if I'd ever add it to a playlist, but I know it.
Some great renditions. That one guy.
It's just been memed into annoyance in my brain. So
Aaron, I avoided the word so that you can get monetized for you. Love you.
You're good.
Love you, brother. But yeah, also tonight, the reason why we're starting early, shouts to the boys, the BBP boys. How about that? Coming out strong. It is National Championship Monday, which I like, having the BBP and then having two of my favorite days on the calendar also fall on Mondays are just like, are you kidding me? Which is fine.
What is the first reason? Eclipse?
College football national championship.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Just Mondays, man. Not the case of the Mondays, but yeah. Real quick, we'll go around the circle. Thoughts on the game tonight? Give a score prediction. I already know Aaron's gonna say I don't care, but you know what? It's something that we're in sports, man. Let's hear some quick thoughts on it.
I think UConn does a better job than anybody has in the last 11 NCAA tournament games, and UConn wins by 12.
Oh, so they don't hit that 13 threshold, huh?
Yeah, 13. Every game has been 13 or more. I think this one is 12.
Right. Okay, fair. 12-point win. Hurley now wins his second back-to-back, first back-to-back since Florida. Back Joakim Noah, Al Horford days. On top of that, Chad, it would move UConn into third place in national championships, if I'm not mistaken. With
all in the last 25 years.
All of them coming in the last 25 years.
All consecutive. They have not lost a national championship game. They are 5-0. This is their sixth one with the chance to go 6-0. They do not.
The most quiet blue blood ever.
Well, the thing is, even I think this year was the first time they were ranked number one. Throughout
the year. Right.
The year, yeah. So in none of their all but one of their championship years, they were ranked number one. Every other year, they've been a team that's been considered like a contender, but never like the best team in the country.
Right.
And then they just wiped through the tournament. I don't know. I like Purdue. I don't think Purdue is as complete as UConn. If Purdue goes crazy and hits 10, 11, 12 threes, you saw Bama was able to hang around. They hit 9 in the first half.
8 of 11, I think is what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then the second half, they couldn't hit one. And they're so good, man. They're so complete, UConn.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
The offense is nuts. I keep watching quick little Twitter breakdowns of all the different like wrinkles to their offense and like how they do like ghost screens or something like that, where they just
screen the screeners. I mean,
crazy. And they make it seem like it's just so like simple and easy. Like it's just well ingrained to him. That just kind of shows how good of a coach Hurley is. Yeah, he's a dude. I watched another clip on Twitter that's kind of going through his family tree about how his dad was a coach and kind of where him and his brother went to college and how they both ended up coaching and then how they kind of rose through the ranks. But
his dad is considered the greatest high school coach of all time.
Yeah. What does he have? Like 40? How many state titles was it?
All of them. Like all of them.
Is it 40?
It's up there. It's way up there.
Did you know the fun stat about this game as well? Because obviously Dan Hurley his son plays on the team, and it's his son's last game. But if in every game that Dan Hurley's son has played in, 42 games, UConn is 42-0 in all of those games, and obviously he's a walk-on, so it's like
that's why.
But it's still fun. It's still fun.
That means they've blown out 42 teams in his son's career. Do you realize how fucking absurd that is?
Well, on top of it, it was not too long ago that the Cincinnati Bearcats won 10 straight against UConn, and including some damn massacres too. So, golly, Aaron, take it away.
Dan Hurley greater than Kevin Ollie.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope Zach Edey fouls out and he gets 14-3 in the key calls against him. I don't care who wins the game, but I just don't want Zach Edey to enjoy anything about tonight. That's how I feel about tonight.
Gosh.
I also hope the NCAA takes a page out of the women's book and starts doing games on Sundays in like around dinner time, like normal people, instead of 9:40 or whatever the time is tonight on a Monday night. Stupid.
9:20.
Why do you hate sports, Aaron?
Why are you doing a national championship this late in Eastern time on a weekday? That's absurdity.
That's when the most people nationally will watch the game.
Well, I hope that the women's numbers blow out this men's numbers as far as ratings go, because it was the most watched game, I believe, in like 5 years. The women's national championship. I don't think this game's going to touch that, truthfully, because of the time. And I hope that they realize that, we've been doing this wrong for years and years and years. Maybe it's time to switch it up.
Women's was on ABC. And also, gosh, Caitlin Clark, that first quarter, she really set the doggone world on fire. But the game being on TBS is another thing that throws me off too. Give me that CBS slot. The typical nice, good finish. Also, it's the first one without Jim Nance. Ion Eagle flying in, the bird.
Ion Eagle was good Saturday. I thought he was really good.
He was. I think he's awesome. And him and Raph have a great connection. Obviously, they've done countless games together with the Nets and whatnot. So it's gonna be fun. But yeah, Aaron, the 9:20 thing. Only thing it's good for is bumping up the BVP a little bit so I can watch it all. There we go. But I'm hoping for a good game. Everything is right. What everyone's saying about this whole leading into it. But if you look at the roster construction of both these teams, this is a good segue in. But first, before we segue, let's talk about a segue. What if a segue was driving down the street and it dinged up your car and you were like, what the heck, man? And then you told the Segway driver, you're like, hey, man, now I got to take my car to Danco Transmission and Auto Care to get it fixed, because he'll hook you up on that. Danco Joe, our man, the GOAT, right here, Danco Joe. He'll hook you up. Tell him Royer sent you. Tell him Aaron sent you. Chad sent you. Tell him Zach Edey sent you.
Tell him that.
He'll get you.
He'll charge you $20 extra.
It'll get you 10% off your next fixing, $10 off your next oil change as well. Danco Transmission Auto Care. But yeah, just quick roster construction of these two teams, because obviously it is the wild, wild west of sports right now in the college landscape. But Purdue, let's take a look at them. And I'm talking to myself right now, and I love it. Purdue, you take a look at them.
That's the only reason I turned my camera off.
Okay, fair. You take a look at them. They are the epitome of building. Every single player on their team, started their careers at Purdue, except for one. They added a Lance Jones through the portal to help push forward something that they needed to do in order to succeed and make that extra push to the to try and get to the Final Four and a chance at the national championship.
Let's be honest. They added Lance Jones, so they're not so white on the perimeter.
Fair. But on top of that, you look at then UConn. UConn, similar to last year, they've got a nice mix of players who started their careers at UConn, other players that transferred in, maybe as far as it goes for, a player like Newton, it's his second year in the program at UConn. They added another transfer in Cam Spencer, who's really been a huge catalyst to that team right now. And then you have the other players, a star freshman, a surging sophomore, two surging sophomores, if you will, want to break it down like that. And then on the bench, you got a couple other transfers and, guys that it kind of seems like it's that happy medium that goes into building a roster construction in today's day and age. Just kind of your guys' thoughts on the comparison / I don't think it's going to be very often that you get a situation like what Matt Painter has at Purdue, where it is all guys except for just one transfer that they added in to help the mix. I think it's got to be a nice heavy dose of both. And if you want to take a look back at NC State, they were all transfers, every single one of them. It's all guys that started their college careers at a different school. I think right now in the landscape, I think a heavy, nice mix of both is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, I think you need to have a core. You need to, and in this day and age, I think you count multiple year transfers into your core.
Right.
Once you're there for a year, like you belong to that school that you're at. I know technically there's still a transfer, but in terms of like the culture and like the identity of a team, once you're there for a year, like you're part of that culture. So I think, the philosophy, the wording on the philosophy has not changed, Brent. Get old, stay old. But I think it's really difficult to do it if you're trying to like bring in 8 transfers in a year and get them all on the same page. I think it's much more likely when you supplement. Like, I mean, UConn lost 3 or 4 of 5 starters from last year. So they didn't have a choice. They had to hit the portal. They won a national championship. Their guys went to the NBA. Like they needed to restock the top of the roster. And it just so happens they did a pretty damn good job of it because that team is a machine.
Aaron, you remember Tristan Newton, right?
Nope.
ECU?
From ECU. Played 2. Okay. Well, he played 2 years there. Had a good 2 years. And then you look at him, all of a sudden he goes now to UConn, first team All-American. But last year he had some bumps along the way. He didn't really kind of put things together, was a little inconsistent. So Chad, kind of going along with what you were saying, that second year in the program, you can see the same sort of a leap, which is why I'm going to parlay this into what the current roster situation is looking like for the Bearcats. The ability to have that core, that little nucleus put together of, a couple of transfers that, will be entering in their second year, that as it looks right now, potentially. And then of course those guys in Dan Skillings and, Jizzle now becoming a sophomore. It's going to be exciting to see what then you add to that. And you kind of have the similar mold to some of these teams that were able to have good success, not only through the season, but into the tournament. So let's take a look back at the news that was obviously on the BBP. We got the news about Victor Locken during the podcast, that he made public. And then of course, kind of a little bit afterwards, one day later, it was the news that Jamil Reynolds was entering the portal and then immediately committing to USF. So he's getting a true tour of the AAC, which is pretty crazy. But Ryan, you have not been able to get on record yet to talk about the you mentioned Vic a little bit, but talk about Jamil also entering the portal and just kind of your thoughts on the thing that is college basketball now. With, I believe last I saw was like 2,200 names in the portal, which is just absolutely insane.
Yeah. We kind of mentioned how we were all a little underwhelmed with Jamil's presence. Then you kind of see him go out on a limb on Twitter and kind of start tweeting out, which I think is always a terrible idea. The next thing you know, he's in the portal. So I wonder if that was kind of like he was already planning on transferring, or if you think he tweeted that out and it was kind of like the coach was like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Like, if you want the ball more, you need to earn it. And he might have just been like, all right, I'm out of here then. But, my take is you never want a guy that's underperforming, acting like a jackass on Twitter, and he's looking to transfer for a third time. It might not be the best fit on any team. So I wish him the best, but I do think that it was either like we needed to go out and shop for an offensive presence on the inside because him or Vic or Aziz weren't able to do it. So I think this kind of opens up the door to kind of go all in on that and not have to mess around with, oh, well, we promised Jamil this, or we have Jamil here, we have Vic here. Now it's kind of like, all right, we have Aziz. We know we're pretty solid on the defensive side of things. Now we got to go lock down someone who can really be a threat, maybe even stretch out and maybe be able to knock down some threes. You look at like Hunter Dickerson, who, his movement just screams inside post player, but he can still step out there and knock down the three ball. I think that's something the Bearcats would desperately need because they need 3-point shooting. They need offensive presence from their big men. So that's kind of my take on just kind of like Jamil, him leaving and what it does for us. But just the kind of the state of the transfer portal, it's like it's kind of nuts that like it's now created this scenario where guys are able to transfer so many times. Like I think what it was meant for and what I think how it should be used is all right, a guy, a one time, like, all right, like a guy's young, he's got a guy a year older than him that's solid, but the kid's like, all right, well, I know I'm good enough. It's nothing against his team or me being a jackass. It's like I know that if I go somewhere else, I'll be able to fulfill my dream and play in the NFL. I think that's the best use of it. I think that's most of what it was intended for, but I don't think it should be where you get, like, if you want to transfer again, I think you need to sit out a year. Like, you get one freebie, you could transfer in the conference, whatever you want, your first time. But then I think it should be, if you want to transfer again, I think you should have to sit out.
Ryan, there is some legislation that's starting, and it came out today that they're kind of pushing this through. That so they're not going to be able to win in court with penalizing people for second-time transfers, because in no other realm is that done. Like, if a tuba player starts at a small school in Idaho and transfers somewhere and then gets better and then ends up at CCM, he doesn't have to sit out a year at CCM of performing. So
in his tuba prime.
Right. He's in his tuba prime.
Go make that money.
I like this analogy. Keep it going.
But what they are going to try to do, it looks like, is they are going to try to tie it more to academics, where you have to meet certain academic requirements after your first transfer. So, and some of that comes down to, like, credits don't transfer, and they're gonna try to make it harder for kids looking for, like, the easy way out, looking for shortcuts, where if you're in good academic standing, there's no problem, but they're going to make sure you're in good academic standing or you're going to have to sit out a year.
I like that. I think it's a good incentive, because I think a lot of the things the system's created is kind of like this kind of terrible thought process for a lot of these young athletes, where it's like, one, it's all about bag chasing. It's not about degree chasing. It's not about bettering yourself as a competitor. It rewards that behavior. And then I think it also, Chad, what you're saying with kind of like academics, I think it's something that we never really even consider much, because it's always about like, how do we keep up with like getting these kids as much money as they want, because that's what's dominating this. It's like, I mean, these kids essentially get wrapped up all in how much money can I make? How much money can I make? What school can I go to? And they're probably like, hey, we'll give you the most money you could do, and we'll give you the easiest degree you could do. And then you're getting a kid who's transferred 3 times. Chances of him panning out to any type of lifelong, life-changing amount of money contract in professional sports are pretty slim. And you're not really emphasizing the importance of your degree and career growth and stuff like that. So I like that incentive, Chad. I think that's a good way to go about it, instead of just handcuffing the players totally. But I'm not against just handcuffing them after their first school. It's like, hey, you got to figure something out, or you got to sit out a year, but you got to.
Yeah, it's not gonna fly.
Yeah, it's the NCAA. They freaking tied their hands behind their back, then tied a weight to their feet, and they're trying to swim out of the river. It's never going to happen. They just are so, they're done, dude. They did it to themselves.
Yes. It's just hilarious to me that they pick and choose where they decide, hey, we're going to emphasize the student part of this student athlete thing here.
And they're only doing that now because they know they've lost all control.
And they don't give a shit about these kids being students. They care about how much money they can make off of the students.
Yeah.
Right.
While pushing it's about the degree.
Right.
And their advertising.
Kind of put the student back in student athlete, huh? But yeah, I mean, I saw one instance where a player liked his current situation on the team that he was on, but his agent and his crew around him are telling him that he should put his name in the portal and see what kind of other opportunities are out there, type thing.
Or to like leverage against his own program. That's
when the things start to get sticky. But yeah, Aaron, let's get your BVP thoughts real quick on Jamil entering the portal. I'm sure you talked about it on one of the other platforms, but just another open slot. And I mean, Jamil had some great thunderous dunks, had some pretty good moments, but yeah, a one and done, if you will, in today's day and age.
I wish the motor that we kind of heard about at the beginning of his Cincinnati career had carried over into the season. I hope that they can find a guy kind of in his ilk as far as just the way that he was built to get another post-dominant player, or at least the potential to be a post-dominant player. I don't feel like that's something that this roster currently has anywhere at all, in any type of way, shape, or form. And I don't know how easy that's going to even be to find in the portal.
Yeah. Chad, full circle back to you. You've kind of been all over it from the jump, obviously, about kind of the main needs or wants, I guess, in your eyes, this offseason as far as additions out of the portal. Does that stance change with now 2 bigs being the names that have entered the portal from Cincinnati, or is it more of a kind of evening out?
Well, I mean, the way it changes is now you have to have somebody that can play the 5. Yeah. So even if that's somebody that's a combo, like a 4-5, a 6'9" guy that can play both spots, one way or the other, you need somebody. You need minutes at 2 positions.
Right.
So you're either going to fill that with a guy that can do both, or you're going to fill it with 2 guys, one that's good at one and one that's good at the other. If it's 2 guys, then the math changes a little, even though, I mean, like we've talked about, now you can put somebody on quote unquote NIL scholarship, where you have NIL money that takes care of. So the 13 isn't as prominent like as it used to be, but still it changes the roster equation, whether you're going to get one guy to fill both of those spots or if you're going to get a guy to fill each spot. So that's really the only thing that changes as things currently stand.
Not necessarily a priority pecking order, if you will. It's kind of more of just now we do need to give a little bit more light to this, because I think you do have Aziz who you can play a boatload of the minutes with, but having that.
Yeah, but even Aziz, man, he did not. There weren't many games he played more than 25 minutes.
Right. Yeah, he does that thing where he kind of exerts a bunch of energy. But do you think some of that was because there were so
He gets
many?
into foul trouble.
Well, that as well. But do you think also just having the luxury of 5 centers on the roster with the ability to kind of like not really force someone to play too much if they aren't getting in foul trouble, but kind of seemed like it was a situation where you want to try and find more minutes for those other guys. And then as the season wore on, though, you did start to see the minutes dwindle for every other 5 not named Aziz Bandaogo.
That's how basketball works. If you've got a good roster, you play a good number of guys early in the season, but then the farther the season goes, the more the rotation shortens, and guys that were getting 18 minutes are getting 11, and guys that were getting 11 minutes are getting 5. Like that's the nature of the beast. You want to have depth, and you want to have some length in your roster in terms of how many guys can play at the level that you're at. But ultimately, by the time you get to late February, early March, like you're going to need 8 guys. You're going to need your starting 5. You're going to need a guard reserve. You're going to need a wing reserve, and you're going to need a big reserve. And from there, it's, buying a couple minutes here and a couple minutes there. So that part of it, I don't think it changes a whole lot. Because I don't think you're seeing many guys, to this point, and I feel pretty comfortable about the core of this roster being Bearcats next year. You never know because it's 2024, but I feel pretty good about where the 1 through 7, 1 through 8 on this roster is right now.
Yeah, that was going to be a great segue, Chad. You're hitting on all cylinders on National Championship Monday. The announcements. This is, the first I've seen where people are, where numerous players are hitting the whole "I'm back" tweet, with a graphic and whatnot. But I think you made a good point on Twitter, Chad, about in today's day and age, you kind of have to do it if you want to kind of just let everyone know, hey, I am coming back. That is my plan. So quit asking me what I'm doing. But in those announcements, there was Simas Lukosius mentioning he is back, who obviously down the stretch, we've talked about it numerous times, completely was blowing up. Then you have Day Thomas announcing he's back, Josh Reed announcing he's back, Aziz Bandaogo himself having one of the most beautifully written declarations to test the draft waters that I've really ever seen, which is awesome to see. He kind of just mentioned, hey, I'm going to be, entering my name into the draft, but I plan on coming back to Cincinnati and finishing what I've started here. So, let's do something special and see where that goes. Which, by the way, I think that's perfect for Aziz, the type of season he had, just see what they are saying at the next level for him to work on in the offseason. And then you have the first pitch for Dan Skillings. Royer, Aaron, did you see the first pitch?
Yes. It looked like a strike.
It was a good pitch.
Good for him.
I think Chad would take it to the 8th row, but it was a good pitch. Then
it's almost like he's athletic or something.
Yeah.
Fouled off 8th row.
Got a little athleticism to him. And then in his interview up in the booth during, I think it was the 6th inning of their sweep of TCU, which, by the way, shouts to the baseball team. He kind of had some really, really good words to say about not only the program, but also about Wes Miller, also about his view of his future. Loved hearing him say that, next year is going to be his last year, which is exactly what they said was a plan from the get-go, to be heading to the NBA by the end of year 3. But Chad, I'm going to kick it to you because I want to hear if you had heard the funny story that he mentioned at the end of the interview up in the booth about him faking out Wes and kind of joking him that he was not going to be going to Cincinnati, and then at the end showing him his shirt and saying, "I'm committed to you."
No, I didn't hear it. I was out and about Saturday with Kelce and two of her friends, so I didn't see it.
Well, I didn't know if you had heard it from before. I guess like he called Wes to say he was, he's like, "Hey, coach, I'm sorry. We've made a decision." And then he said Wes was like kind of getting red in the face, and then he kind of pulled the phone back and was like, "I'm coming to Cincinnati." So pretty funny story to hear. But Aaron, it sounds like you were able to hear his interview up there. It was all good, rosy words out of Dan Skillings Jr.
I just caught little snippets on Twitter. I think that the kid's making some pretty big assumptions to think that next year is definitely his last year at Cincinnati. I think he's got some work to do.
I don't think that matters. I think he has decided next year is my last year at Cincinnati, and I am going to begin my professional career. Like, there's no right or wrong on that. If that's his plan, that's his plan. He might end up not being ready, but that's been his ambition from the start. So more power to him for sticking to it.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta start envisioning your future, I suppose. And I hope that means that he's going to be putting in lots of work in this offseason, because there's some things that certainly need cleaned up in his game.
He said he's already back working out with Mike, and he is going to be in the gym starting today to get basketball work rolling as well in the offseason. So,
well, that's the thing people don't realize. They get spring workouts. So basically from tomorrow after the Final Four through the end of whenever your semester ends, through the end of the school year, you can do the 8 hours a week, 4 in the weight room and 4 on the court with the coaching staff. So you do get a couple extra weeks of gym time with your team between now and the end of the semester.
So yeah, Dan Skillings, man, he's Aaron, I hear you. He's definitely got things to work on, but having the confidence to that's what I want to do. That's my goal. Yes, then it's your duty to put in that work. But I think that's a goal that Wes sat him down and had with him. He said,
you got to manifest your future. I'm not disagreeing with what he's saying. I just think there's lots of work to do.
Yeah, well, and you heard it after the senior game, in that post-game press conference when Wes was like, I think Scott Springer asked a question about, Dan, are you excited, seeing the other seniors walk today? Are you excited for yours in a couple of years? And Wes kind of butted in and said, Dan's not going to make it till his senior year here, which I mean, when you have that vote of confidence from your coach and you kind of get that extra win behind your sails, it's going to do wonders as you continue to work out and train to get better. So yeah, hopefully it's a great off season of work, because this whole team could have a really great off season of work. And like Chad said, that core can try and take that next step together, and then the additional pieces added can really help. So one of those additional pieces, and it's Connor Hickman, who has been mentioned numerous times. It's been reported out there as well. Chad's been all over it. That the staff did go out and see him in Peoria. And then in the meantime, you had Chad Dollar down in Miami with one Edgerrin James just hanging out on the beach. So one goes into middle America, the other one goes down to sunny Miami. But the staff is all over the place, kind of building up what is there. Chad, you were on 1530 earlier this week. Obviously, it's a dead period for coaches, but it's not a dead period for the staff here at BCJ. Outside of Hickman, who obviously the staff has done a great job from the get-go when he enters his name into the portal, and huge connections to Drew Adams and the staff as well. Other names that when this period wraps up, that you're going to continue to keep an eye on.
BearcatJournal.com.
You said it on 1530.
I mean, look, the Jordan Pope thing I think will be interesting. I I think Cincinnati has a chance to be involved there. That one kind of off to a weird start in terms of like the information that's coming out from that, and not necessarily from a UC side, just from a general standpoint. There hasn't been a whole lot out there on him, since all this kind of kicked up. So
do you think that has to do with the dead period, or is that kind of just
no? I can't really get into it.
Okay, gotcha.
So we'll see with him. The Marquez Warwick thing, I think is real.
Entered his top 5 for those who didn't know.
Yeah, and I guess what Trilly said, UC and Missouri are sounding like the top 2. I get it. It's a veteran guard that has 2,000 points in his career. I think one of the biggest upsides for Hickman is that he very much fits the locker room culture. Anybody around NKU will rave about how good of a kid he is. And that's
Warwick.
something that, or Warwick, yeah. That's
And
something that, Warwick, that's something that, is important to this staff is what kind of person you're going to be in the locker room. And that's not just, we want good kids on the back end of the roster. That goes from 1 all the way to, 16, depending on how many walk-ons they have. So I think that is something that plays in Warwick's favor, definitely. We'll see. I mean, it's a by the minute enterprise. I think Cincinnati is still very early in their race in terms of this portal cycle.
Well, I mean, you literally see what news broke last night as most people were asleep. It's the entire landscape of everything can change at the drop of a hat. So I'm talking about Coach Cal going to Arkansas, and then all of a sudden that shuffles up Kentucky. All of a sudden it also shuffles up Arkansas. It shuffles up so many different things. So
look, if you take a guy early, like really early, right at the beginning, you better be 100% sure.
Right.
Because you have no idea what's about to happen over that coming month. And some of it happens early, some of it happens really late. And what I don't think you want to do is you make a rash decision April 4th, and on May 5th, you're like, crap. we could have had a better team, but we rushed it.
Yeah. You look back at last year, and of course the season ended a complete week earlier with the NIT loss to Utah Valley. But last year, these are the dates that everything kind of started to rock and roll. Was Jamil Reynolds committed on 4/13, CJ Frederick on 4/24, Simas Sakocious out on 4/29, and Aziz Bandago on 5/20. So there's a lot of time to kind of really start to work things out, pan and pin down moves that you want to make. So it's a marathon. It truly is, and some big names who have not entered the portal will be entering the portal in future dates. So continue
there's still a whole lot of coaching carousel.
Oh yeah.
that has not settled itself yet. So
yeah, most of the names they're mentioning taking over the Kentucky job are big time programs, and all of a sudden you're going to see certainly some shuffle there.
Right, because then they fill that, then that job needs to be filled, and then it just a whole damn domino effect that all started from Oakland and our good friend the shooter. Oh, what's his name? I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. The shooter, yes, that guy. Golke. There we go. But yeah, it'll be an interesting continue of the Wild Wild West. And I mean, one thing though, as you've seen, the staff is all over it. So and I can only imagine that Wes has some things working, and he's going to continue to work every pipeline he can, and wear his solar eclipse glasses in the process. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. But lock in tonight because, of course, one of the best parts about this after they sing One Shining Moment is that all these places start sending out their top 25 way too early. Bearcat's already in one. So, hey, man, future is now. So it's time to hop on board and strap in because it's going to be a lot of fun. You want to timestamp this and we'll get a little riffing with Royer?
No, I was trying to drag this out as long as possible tonight. See if
You
we
know,
can get
you know
to,
what? That sounds fun. That sounds fun.
9:45, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
As long as Zach Edey loses, I'm good with it.
Easy.
Timestamp brought to you by Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company. For all your non-food products, they service over 150 restaurants with weekly, low minimum, next-day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Yeah. Roy. New ripping.
Yeah.
Now we're new riffing with Royer, a fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative. New Riff produces award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire Tasting Room, located on the third floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights, and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% off distillery tours when you use the code BEARCATS24. For more information or to book a tour, visit newriffdistilling.com.
Bang.
All right. First question is, what kind of superstitious feelings do you get seeing the Bearcats execute a spring practice on an eclipse? Do you think it gives us a good omen going in to the beginning of our football season?
I think it means that they practiced at 3:00 on Monday.
Do you think the sun and moon god are overseeing the Bearcats in a positive light?
Most of the stuff I read up on with the conspiracy theorists and all of that, most of the stuff I read up on the conspiracy theorists said that all of this had to do with gods of death and destruction and chaos and all of that. So I don't know that necessarily bodes well for what you're asking.
Well, here's the thing, Aaron. You got to remember, back in the old days, all of a sudden, it just got pitch black in the middle of the day. And
I can only imagine
what those people experienced at 4:00 on a Tuesday when all of a sudden the sun was up and it was pitch black out. Like, we're all gonna die.
I mean, even if you go back to like the 1700s or something like that, where you didn't know it was necessarily coming, that would be wild. And if you go even further back to that, then to like the times of
that's what I mean.
The pilgrims and early civilization and what have you, like, well, nope. That'd be
a lot of ancient civilizations could predict the eclipses pretty accurately, surprisingly. And so what they would do is they'd have like the priest or the priest class or whatever the ruling class would be like, all right, tomorrow the sun's going to disappear because we haven't been doing X, Y, and Z enough. So you need to listen to the king.
Yeah.
And if you listen to him, he will move the moon away from the sun and save all of your life. And then he would just get more power out of it.
It would take him 2 minutes, but he would get the sun to move and the moon to clear, and the daylight would come back, and all the people would be scared as shit, which isn't too far off of today. We have all the technology in the world, and people still thought like the earth was going to spin off its axis because the moon was in front of the sun for 2 fucking minutes.
I think that had more to do with firing up CERN and things like that, but
yeah, the CERN, Large Hadron Collider, gotta love that.
There we go. I heard about that.
I think rumor has it Brendan Sorsby threw a touchdown pass right as totality hit. So
You know, I tell you what, my sunny look on last
I hate this
season
podcast.
was blacked out pretty abruptly by one blocked field goal attempt. So I think the fact that this happened is only a positive outlook for year 2. I agree. Sorsby, son.
There you go.
All right, next.
Okay. If you could pick, so let's say Wes Miller has to leave the program and he is no longer the head coach. And you have to choose between Calipari and Dan Hurley to be your next Bearcats coach. Who are you picking?
Go ahead, Chad.
Hurley. Dan's just a sharp dude, man. Like, I know I'm biased because I know him, and I know Cal a little bit.
And he's a Bengals fan.
Cal
He's already got a
man.
city tie. Cal sucks.
Dan is about the right things. I would go Danny 11 times out of 10.
Well, I don't want him. I don't like that he's at UConn. I would hate if he was at Kentucky.
So Chad, did you hear about this tea that he drinks before every game?
No.
It looks like pee, and he just like slurps it down, and like numerous coaches have been like wondering if it's actually pee in his cup. He's trying to intimidate everybody. But
drinking piss.
I guess it's some like mushroom tea that like really calms him down and it's just helpful. And it's just like, all right on, man.
He's microdosing, no big deal.
I mean, Danny's the man. You listen to his interviews there. Just the SI Kids reporter asked him a question. I forget what it was, and he just like immediately said shit in the response to an SI Kids reporter. That's like awesome. But yeah, it's Dan Hurley's the answer on that. Did you guys see what Coach Cal was doing today on a very busy Lexington street?
Walking his dog.
Walking his dog like nothing's wrong. It's just like, okay.
I mean, his dog's got.
The dog's still got to right. They still got to go to the bathroom.
Send someone else out. That guy's a multi-millionaire.
He's not drunk driving. He's just walking his dog. You don't need someone else to do that.
Well, please. After all that stuff's going down, I think it was a selfish move, but I did see that Drake did commit to.
You just said you think him walking his dog was selfish.
No, I did think he was looking to get a little attention to him. Oh, please!
What are we doing? He took his dog for a walk. If you can't handle that, that's on you, person driving down the road in Lexington. Come on, man.
All right. But Drake did commit to Arkansas already. Woo Pig Suey down there. The old Tyson family.
That's not good news for Arkansas.
No, it's not. Not at all. Not at all.
6 people just left because you said it was bad that Cal was selfish.
No, I think they left because we're under an hour to tip time of the national championship basketball game today. So, all
right. Last question then. Last question. What would you rather get? An offensive-minded big man or a 3-point sniper wing?
Ooh. Good question, Royer.
3-point sniper wing.
You think Aziz can carry?
You worry way more about Aziz's offense than I do. He is elite defensively. So
I would rather. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I feel like we already have a 3-point sniper wing with CJ Frederick on the roster. So until he's not on the roster, I don't think you need to double down on that. I'd much rather get.
Is he reliable though?
Aaron, he played 42 minutes in Big 12 play.
He's still taking up a scholarship. So until he's not taking up a scholarship.
Here's the other thing I need people to realize. Simas Lukosius is a 4 on this roster. So when everybody talks about having to go get a 4, you have a 4 that can score, that is going to play 25 minutes a night, if not more, at the 4 position. So I don't
what
think
is he, 6'7"?
6'7", 6'8". Yeah. He's bigger than you. He's bigger than you
yeah,
think. When you see him in person, he is a lot bigger than he looks on TV.
He just plays kind of low. I mean, not low to the court, but just like he kind of just always is in ducking down on offense. He's always kind of in that, he's never really like posting up someone. He's always kind of like, he's always like loaded stance or like, so it's hard to like get a grip on how tall he is.
I think I still want more rebounding though at the 4 spot, and I'm hoping that that's something that improves in the offseason for CMOS as well.
I agree. He needs, and I think he did better as the season wore on. He was much more willing. But there was a lot of times in the beginning of the year, man, he was not what I would call a willing rebounder by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah,
he got better at that.
Wes mentioned that too, though. The whole fact where, like, physically, he was going through a lot throughout the first half of the season. So, like, battling against people who are bigger than you for rebounds, I imagine does a little bit more wear and tear, and you're probably not as willing to go and do that until you feel 100% about your body.
While mending from a car wreck.
Still insane. It's gonna be that's gonna be one that we talk about forever. But and then on top of it, and of course you don't want to really dedicate a huge chunk of time to incoming true freshmen, but you've got the third highest rated and the 9th highest rated commits since the beginning of the 247 Sports rankings era that are coming in that fit that 4 spot for Betsy and the 4-5 for McKinley, who are definitely more, would you say at this point, offensive minded. So I'm with Chad. I'm going. Yeah, I'm with Chad. I'm going 3-point sniper because, man, those are so valuable. And Aaron,
you're allowed to have 2. You can have 2.
I don't want to see 30 3-pointers a game again.
If they go in, I want to see 50.
Well,
a team that just went to the Final Four does nothing but shoot 3-pointers and layups.
Doesn't mean I like it.
We're not going to go on the 3 counts more than 2 combo tonight. That takes too long. But yes, I think I'm definitely a 3-point shooter. Royer, who do you want?
I'd rather have more nights. I would rather have more nights where they go 9 for 27 than when they go 6 for 27. How's that?
Until they do that, I'll be cautiously optimistic.
I don't know. I feel like they can kind of make up for their perimeter game because I think Day and CMOS and even Jizzle, I think they're all going to get either be consistent or get even better than they were this year from the 3-point range. And like you mentioned, having Frederick, I mean, maybe if we can get him at least like half the year, I think that'll cover for it. But I just think just someone that you don't even have to score. It's just like being able to bring the defense in a little or command some sort of a double team or someone who can just post up or do some low screens. I don't know. I just think we're just really lacking in that department. I think we can make up from our other 3 guys on the court at the time.
Yeah, I agree. Just one quick aside before we roll all the way into football. Javon Small, who entered his name into the portal, I think it was like late yesterday or early this morning. It was expected, obviously. Chad mentioned it already, but his list did come out of teams that have already reached out to him, and by golly, it is a nice who's who in college basketball. But plenty of connections to the former basketball player from the state of Indiana, and obviously ECU, and then Oklahoma State. So
for those that don't know, he played for AAU for Mike Saunders' dad. So
there we go.
There is a connection there that is familiar with the staff, to say the least.
Boom, baby. All right, Royer, good questions, brother. Good questions. You are my Eclipse solar man. All right, let's timestamp.
Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009, are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call our guy, Nick, 513-470-2029, and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Chad, your thoughts on Jason Kelce's World Wrestling debut this past weekend?
If there's ever been somebody that was more designed for the WWE, I've never seen them in my entire life. Like, that guy is a WWE superstar. Like, just every pore of his body is, I should be on TV doing this. So it was funny, especially to see him with the Lucha Libre mask on.
Luchador,
The Luchador mask. That was a great, helping out Rey Mysterio, kind of the guy that made that big in America. It all fit perfectly. And Lane Johnson is a monster of a human being.
Oh, he's so big. Yeah.
Like, he made Kelce made everybody else look small.
Look small. And then
Lane Johnson made Kelce look small. It was like, my God, that I saw like a bunch of people, if you watch, like, scrolling through TikTok, there were a bunch of reaction videos of it on Sunday. And they were like, the Kelce brothers. And I'm like, y'all think that's what Travis Kelce looks like?
Wow.
With a mask on? No, sir. That is not it.
I'd love to see the stat Trav would put up if he was that tall, man. Jeez. He probably would have stuck with basketball if he was that tall.
But the era of Jason Kelce just continues. Like, of course he gets to be on WrestleMania.
Of course he ends up shirtless
on WrestleMania, right?
In his work boots and jeans.
I'm surprised.
Shirtless.
How did he not stone cold when he was up on the ropes? How did he not have somebody ready to toss him a couple beers, a couple Cincy Lights, Jason?
He should have. Maybe an idea.
Hard to get your hands on out in Philly
for the old next one. But yeah, not a big wrestling guy, but it was awesome seeing him there. And then obviously his big flex in the middle of the ring too. Really, it just makes you laugh. Puts a smile on your face.
That's the thing. He's so genuinely funny. Like, just genuinely funny.
Oh yeah, completely agree. Aaron, who you got in the ring, Royer or Jason Kelce?
That's not a real question.
I mean, Royer, back yourself up. You were the only one who showed up in the ring.
I was the Bruce Buffer. I was not doing shit in there.
I was actually I was talking to Walt today, and he was talking about one time in practice, like the O-line, D-line, one-on-ones got kind of heated, and guys were like getting into it, and it kind of bubbled over, and Jason kind of stepped in the middle, like, we're chilling the fuck out right now. And all of the D-line guys were like, we're good.
If Jason was able to corral Travis into graduating.
Yeah.
Or
I
how
think
about
that speaks for itself. Or the
Jason
helmet
was able
toss.
to calm down Derek Wolf in those situations.
That's an actual crazy person.
I mean, that's a gem of a human.
The helmet toss into the 25th row of Nippert or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Walt said today it was probably like the second or third row from the top of the lower bowl.
Yeah,
from the middle of the field.
Quite
no knock on Royer. No knock on Royer, but he didn't do any of those things.
That is 100% true. Yeah, Jason Kelce will fucking kill me.
You had to corral Alec
9
Pierce.
days out of 7.
You had to corral Alec Pierce. That was it.
I was trying to do the opposite. I was trying to break him out of the cage.
Yeah, you're trying to get Alec to like rev up a little bit.
He was trying to corral you.
Jason's throwing helmets. Royer's throwing socks. So it's a little bit different of a scenario going on here. But yeah, I think Royer would be good in the old ring.
Royer would be a phenomenal like manager.
Yeah,
like the guy on the mic coming in and talking shit. You'd make a great manager, Royer.
Paul Heyman.
And
the best ever to do that, at least.
Well, in a world full of and Chad, just one quick aside, did you like the winner of WrestleMania? I don't know if you were big into that or not, but
So you mean yesterday?
yeah,
I was in, like, I'm not in, like, I don't watch it a lot.
right,
So I'm not like into the, like, emotionally invested into the storylines.
yeah.
But boy, that match. Oh, buddy.
I watched some highlights. It seems like get you a little exciting. Yeah,
I
it's
mean, to
pretty
have
exciting.
Cena come out and then The Rock come out and then The
Yeah,
Undertaker come out,
yeah,
like back to back to back. You want to talk about giving the arena some juice?
yeah,
Like those are three of probably the five most iconic wrestling entrances of all time, right?
right, right.
Cena, and then The Rock, and then The Undertaker when the bells hit and the lights go out.
Yep.
Like, that's as good as it gets in terms of getting a pop at a wrestling show.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it was deemed maybe the best main event in WrestleMania history.
Mhm. Good old Cena. I watched Ricky Stenicki last night. Kind of a dumb but okay, decent movie to watch. But Cena's a pretty funny guy. So shouts to wrestling. It's talking wrestling on the BVP. It doesn't happen often, but when Jason Kelce is involved, it has to happen for a bit. But it's a great segue into what's happening on Thursday. Obviously, it's been highly notarized, highly discussed, highly promoted, and that is the New Heights pod coming to Nippert Stadium. One confirmed out of the multiple special guests that they have is Joe Burrow. So yeah, Thursday is going to be a fun one inside of Nippert Stadium. Just your guys' thoughts, obviously, as it is week of. It's been a widely talked about, widely discussed event, and now it is finally the week of the event is here.
I mean, as long as the weather cooperates, which it doesn't look great as of today, as long as the weather cooperates, I think it's going to be an awesome event.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, those guys are fun. Like, they're going to have great high level guests. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be like going to a comedy show and laughing and being entertained for a couple hours. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a really good thing, especially the amount of money that they are planning to raise for Cincy Reigns and what that can do to help both the football and basketball and all the other programs around the university. So it's going to be a big event, and I'm excited for it. Hopefully the weather cooperates.
Aaron, you got anything to add on that?
I just hope they make a lot of money for Cincy Reigns. I'm not going to be there, so do your thing, enjoy it, and yeah, hopefully the weather is cooperative. But if not, sure would make those sweets worth the $1.
There you go. God, I love you, Aaron. Are you going to be able to make it for the other event this week? Another great segue. Coming on Saturday, noon kickoff, the spring game, year 2 spring game of the Scott Satterfield era. It is it's been talked about, widely discussed, and now it is here as well. So Saturday, 12 noon, Nippert Stadium.
Yeah, I don't miss spring football, and that sucks that baseball season started up for the boys. And I'm going to miss some of that here this weekend. But after wearing his sliding glove in his back pocket, the 13-year-old is not going to be upset that I'm not there yelling at him to put the sliding glove on instead of keeping it in his back pocket because it's drip.
Hey man, you can't fault the kid for a little drip though. Come on now.
It's a sliding glove. When you're on base, you put the sliding glove on. It does you no good in your back pocket. It's
That's
a
a good
sliding glove, not a batting glove, not a pocket glove, a sliding glove.
You got a good point there. You got a good point. Well, Chad, you were at practice today. Anything in general stick out other than the solar eclipse that took place right in the middle of it.
I mean, we're 13 practices in, man. Like you're seeing a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Over and over again, just on a different day. Joe Royer had a nice crossing route that Sorsby hit him, and he was able to turn it up the sideline. So that was fun. I mean, I don't know. I just Simeon Coleman made a couple more plays.
Right.
Brady Drogosh recovered a fumble right on the goal line.
The man.
Johnny on the spot. Somebody hit Evan Pryor right in the hole, and the ball popped straight out, just shot through the line of scrimmage, and Brady Drogosh fell on it on like the 1 or 2 yard line. So, in there making plays. I love me some Simeon Coleman. Somebody had a pick 6, and I was on the other side, and I missed who it was. But it was a pretty good day of practice, and the weather was perfect. A lot of chatting today at practice, but that happens sometimes.
That's what needs to happen. So next question, obviously, we're gonna just wrap up this segment real fast. But 3 things or 3 names, Aaron. I'm going to start with you. 3 things or 3 names that you are excited to see on Saturday, or that you're hoping to see, or that you're really going to keep an eye
on. Tyson Veit, I think, would be my number 1, because I'm excited just to see what the entire defense looks like at this point. I think I'm probably, honestly, more excited about that than I even am Brendan Sorsby. So I'll put that as my number 1 thing, just to get a feel for what this is going to look like and
he is fiery. There's been at least 5 or 6 different times of practice where he has lost his shit, like yelling at people.
I'm excited to meet him like face to face, since he's been on the show, and
I
just
love
kind of meet him.
I love it.
I think he's my number 1. Number 2 would probably be whoever is in at the number 2 receiver spot. Pencil in whoever, because
I don't know that Tony Johnson is going to play. I think he might be still kind of working his way back. So I don't know that even if you like whatever they have, it might not be what you're going to see.
And that's still showing us depth, though. And I think that that's still an okay thing, because who's to say that you make it through an entire season? So maybe we get a glimpse of the future, or whatever it is that may be there, because by all counts, this is a much deeper receiver room than what it was a season ago, this time last year. So that's probably my number 2. And number 3, you got to include him, Brendan Sorsby, just to see him slinging the pill around on Nippert, and just get to see what this season's going to look like under some new leadership. Last season, didn't go the way that any of us wanted it to go. You still had a consummate professional at the quarterback spot, in all the other places outside of maybe what happened on the field. So I'm excited to see maybe somebody who can do both, because it was tough last year, and I want that fire lit back here for the fans. So,
Chad, the man.
How well the defensive backfield plays. Don't give up a bunch of bombs over the top, because then people are rightfully going to spend the next 4 months wondering why that part wasn't fixed.
Right.
So if the ball is up, go make a play on it. How about that?
Yeah. Right.
What kind of pressure we see from the defensive line? I know.
How often have they gone full go in the?
Not a ton.
Yeah.
There have been some days that the D line has really caused problems in the backfield. Now, Luke Andra and D'Artagnan Tinsley are out. Okay. So factor that in, that you're playing without 2 of your starting guards right now.
Right.
Nothing serious. Actually, Kandra was back in a yellow jersey today, but I don't think he's going to be. I don't think they're going to rush him But he was back doing some like position work and some individual stuff today, which was good to see. So let's see what the O-line D-line matchup looks like. Does the quarterback room have some time in the pocket? Or remember last year, man? Like they didn't even have a half a second. And it was a jailbreak to the quarterback on every
Last
play.
year, it was hard hits left and right, defense on offense. So, yeah, that was not much going on for the offense in the early going. I think they found a little magic as the game wore on, but for the most part, yeah. Anything else?
Not really. I mean, tight end is getting interesting. Joe
Right.
Royer's been really good. Joey Belgian's been good. Peyton Singletary's made some plays, and you're starting to see Gavin Grover out there a little bit.
Wow.
I think it was Zahersky, I think, got smoked today on a run play by guess who?
Simeon Coleman.
Yeah, Simeon Coleman. He was trying to circle around and kind of like close off the backside, and Coleman just whack.
Golly, Coleman, man, that dude's creating a little bit of a legend about himself in his first spring practice. How about it? Yeah, for myself personally, I am flying back for it, so I'll see you guys there. But I do want to say, obviously, Sorsby, as you mentioned, Aaron, but I'm excited to see kind of like Kel Woodburn is the name that obviously we've talked about quite a lot. I want to get some eyes on what Kel Woodburn looks like, and I hope he has at least one long gainer. But kind of that wide receiver room as a whole. Obviously, if you don't have Evan Prater out there and Tony Johnson out there, it's going to be a little bit lessened, but you still get to see how Barry Jackson looks year two. You get a good glance at Tyron Smith, see how the connectivity between Sorsby and Xavier Henderson is going. Because obviously we've talked about it on the pod. The shots were there to be made last year. They just the shooter couldn't quite make it. But how quickly they're able to kind of sort of build that connection. Really interested to see the safeties. I want to see this 3 safety look. There's just so many of them. Chad, you and Dave talked about it on the BCJ pod last week, and I even asked about it on the VP on Monday. It's like there's just so many of them. It's hard to pick out which ones are good, better than the others, or is it kind of just they're all really showing things? So I want to see if anyone kind of separates himself in a game-like setting.
It's like 5 or 6 that make plays. Right,
exactly. It's like, all right, are we going to start to just funnel all 5 and 6 all throughout the game? I guess so. And then I would like to see, like you mentioned, Chad, a little bit, the pass rush. Is Coleman going to be the answer? Are they kind of going to use, Bartlett a little bit in those different, formations and whatnot, and kind of get a good look at, Dante, obviously. Want to see.
We haven't seen a lot of Coleman as like a pass rusher. What we've seen him doing is filling gaps in the run game.
Okay.
And when you get hit by him, you stay hit.
Okay.
You know that shit where you get hit and the guy bounces right back up, like, well, when you get hit by him, you're like, whoo, get a hand. Somebody help me up.
I wasn't talking about Simeon, Chad.
Oh.
Micah Coleman.
Oh. Well, which one is that? We've been talking about Simeon.
He's supposed to be the main pass rusher.
You're not allowed to hit the quarterback.
Right, but I want to see how his get up is. You guys are all mentioning him looking way bigger in person than
bigger
you
in
expected.
Person, sure.
So I'm excited to see kind of just how that looks. So yeah, there's plenty to watch. Obviously, it's a spring game. We came out of one spring game a few years ago, where we thought, there might be a stud at linebacker that we never even heard of, and that guy's now a part of the show every once in a while. Yeah, not quite sure where he is. I think he's already watching the game or the pregame leading into it. But yeah, going to be exciting.
The Reds blow an 8-0 lead.
I'm sick to my stomach about it. I'm watching it and I'm.
Is that why you've been angry for like 20 minutes? 30
minutes?
No,
I'm angry because Zach Edey's in the national championship, but that's fine.
You know, and in response to that, Aaron, the only thing I don't want to see is the refs take control and like call fouls on Klingon and Edey, and all of a sudden, you know, you don't get to actually see the marquee matchup.
I don't want to see him on Klingon. I'm okay with all of them on Edey. He's due about they got about 7 makeups to give him.
All right, Aaron. All right. But let's go ahead and timestamp this one, Mailbag.
Yep, that was
Quick Paper Supply timestamp brought to you by Quick Paper Supply. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases. We love Nick. He's come over. He said hi to us numerous times at the basketball games. Quick Paper Supply. It's a local and family-owned restaurant supply company, by the way, for all your non-food needs, products. Give Nick the call. 513-470-2029. Reference Bearcats. 20% off your first month of purchases.
There you go. We will open up the mailbag. Who knows who's going to be here to answer questions? We'll find out, I suppose. We'll start in the football portion of the mailbag. A little light today, but what do you think is our strongest and weakest position group right now? Where do you see the staff potentially adding some help in the late transfer portal period? Brent, what you got?
Strongest, obviously when you bring back every offensive lineman that started last year, you want to look at them and say that's a strong position group. But obviously they need to take a step up and work on a few other things. But mainly, what just happened, Aaron?
Inside the park home run by Ellie.
Oh gosh, what a legend! What a legend! Second homer of the game, and he's on my fantasy team. But
that's what I get for stepping away for us. I walked back into the room, and he was walking into the dugout.
Running back room, I think is pretty strong. You flip over on defense at. Whenever you have a player like Dante Corleone on the defensive line, I think you want to kind of look at that as being a bit of a strong point as well. Weak, I think I don't really. I'm kind of rose-colored glasses when it comes to this, but I guess you would say cornerback. You hope that Jordan Young takes that next step. I hope that maybe one of the youngsters steps up. It sounds like Armani Arnold's getting a lot of looks out there. I'm interested to see that. I really thought Derek Cantine was going to be getting a look at corner. I was really interested to hear him more at the safety position, but I think the flexibility is kind of there for them. But yeah, I mean corner obviously, want to see them take that next step up, and then obviously I've mentioned safety so many times. Adding all of this depth and talent pieces, how do they look? Because that was a very, very weak position group last year. So how do they look? Let's get eyes on them. Chad, take it over from there.
Yeah, I mean, safety is fascinating because they've looked really good so far through camp, and you can tell they're getting more and more comfortable with the scheme. But we've never seen them in a live setting. So how far do they have to go to fulfill their potential? Strengths. I want to get to the point where we are at higher ground and feel like quarterback is a strength. And I think Saturday is a big step in that direction. If Sorsby comes out and has a good to really good day, I think you go into the summer feeling like, okay, things are stabilized. They have their quarterback. Let's keep pushing forward. If you show up Saturday and he gets picked twice and doesn't look like he has in practice for the majority of the spring, I think the right, the natural reaction to have is, did we get quarterback right? It just changes everything. So I want to come out of Saturday feeling really good about quarterback. The position group I'm most interested right now, I think, is linebacker. There's talent there, but there's not a ton of experience there, and especially not a ton of experience together. It's not like Bartlett has played a bunch of middle linebacker. So, Jonathan Thompson's not a guy that has played a ton. He's looked really good when he has played, but he hasn't played a ton. We're talking about getting Simeon Coleman on the field. So, there's a group at linebacker that has promise, but in terms of like weakest position group, I think it's the one we know the least about. So I'll go linebacker there. Help in the transfer portal. You're always looking at corner. You're always looking at receiver. You're always looking offensive and defensive lines. If you can find anybody that fits any of those spots, then I think you jump on them. Yeah.
Ryan, anything to add for strongest, weakest position group?
I think our weakest was like our secondary. It's kind of hard to pick between the corner and safety position for me. It was, I guess running back is probably our strongest position. Like you look down right now in terms of we don't know what Sorsby's going to give. Like if you're going just off of last year, moving into this year, I think running back's probably our most decorated group with experience and good value. But I think like what Chad was saying, if Sorsby delivers and he lives up to like expectations, it'll definitely be our much needed strongest position. You might want to lean. People might tend to lean offensive line if you're looking at the rushing stats, but I think also if you kind of look at how the pass blocking has been the past couple of years, I think that's been under par as well, combining with bad quarterback play. But I think I'm going to stick with running back and I guess a slash for secondary, whether it being corner or safety. But yeah, it can be our strong can be picked up really quickly by Sorsby if he delivers.
Anything that you feel like they need to add in the late transfer portal period?
No quarterback, no running back, no tight end, no O-line. I mean, yeah, I think it's just depth in the secondary, maybe a corner.
Hey, you could always use a swing tackle, Ryan. Always.
Yeah, that's a good point. Depth on defense, you can never go wrong with, especially the way offense is being played nowadays. So,
all right. That ends the football portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the basketball portion of the mailbag. Can we make the dance next year with no portal additions and a healthy and returning CJ? If you can get either Hickman or Ballo, who do you take?
Why do we do this? Can they make the dance next year with no portal additions and a healthy CJ? Yeah, they can. There's going to be Aaron, they almost made it this year, and guys were in their first year. Guys are going to get better.
Well,
can they make it? Yes. Is it significantly harder trying to do that? Yes. Like, I think if you make the right additions, we're talking about a team that could wear white in the first round of the NCAA tournament, meaning an 8 seed or higher. If you run it back, you're probably going to be you're going to be on the bubble, hoping to be on the right side of the bubble. I think there's too much at the core of this group for the goal to be just sneaking in at the back of the tournament.
Well, I'll disagree only because making no portal additions means you have Aziz and Sage as your only fives. You lose John Newman, and you don't have necessarily, in my opinion, a guy who brings that caliber on both sides of the court at that spot. So I don't think that making no portal additions, it's just the question, which is not a reality. But
Correct. The question will never be answered. Like, there's no chance the question is answered. So it's kind of an irrelevant question. If they run it back with the core that they have, they'll probably be in a similar place, and they'll be in a bunch of close games, and it'll be a matter of, do they win enough of them to get into the tournament, sneaking in at the back end of the bubble. I think with the core that you have in place, your goals should be much higher than that. Hickman or Ballo, what are we doing? Omar Ballo is going to get like $1 million in the transfer portal.
So we're all in on Ballo, right?
Sure. Yes, I would like Omar Ballo to be on this team next year. Yeah, Killer B, I love you, man, but like, can let's make these a little more realistic instead of a stream of consciousness?
Brent, anything to add there?
He also would like Omar Ballo.
Yes, give me Ballo.
Sure. All right. After a week with 2 players leaving, and given how quickly Coach Wes Miller tends to work these things, can we yet assume this is the final tally of guys leaving?
Absolutely not. Guys, Micah Adams-Woods left in May.
Right.
The middle of May last year. Like, don't assume anything in the transfer portal. That's what I've been telling you guys from the start. Do not assume anything in the transfer portal. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. If the transfer portal is open, assume anything can happen.
Yeah, I already listed out the dates that everyone committed last year. It's pretty similar as people entering. I mean, Micah was late, but the other ones kind of slowly trickled in. So it was not like a big bang right as the season ended. It was
that happened, Brent. That happened the first year of the portal.
Right.
Everybody tried to commit like as fast as humanly possible. And I think a lot of people realized, oh, wait, like this isn't, I got some time. I'm not sprinting to the finish line here.
This is like high school recruiting all over again. It's not just like you got to be quick to make the pick before someone else takes it or something. Yeah, so.
I mean, you do still have to be cautious about that, but
yes.
It's not a race.
But
and if it is a race, it's not a...
Don't just like say yes to the first person that tells you to join us. So
unless you have like an eBay like price number, like you can buy me at this price.
Yeah.
If you're that guy and you're like, you can buy me at this price, and the coach is like, okay, then maybe you're like, all right, like I'm gonna take that price and not negotiate anymore.
Outside of the announced departures from the team so far, are you expecting any more at this time? Same question. We won't.
No fucking chance you guys are getting me on this. Because if I try to like guess, then my guess is taken as gospel. And if I give you gospel and that doesn't happen because something changes, then that's held against me. Oh, no. We're not playing this game anymore.
Moving on. Thoughts on doing the first round of the NCAA men's tournament at home sites like the women do and the football playoffs appear to be planning? Would seem to be a nice reward and cut down on some fan travel, especially if the field is expanded.
Don't touch
if the field is expanded. I don't mind.
Maybe, but don't touch the NCAA tournament. It's the one thing that is sacred and so perfect, really.
Except it's changed like 8 times.
Yeah, but not drastically.
They used to be at 16 teams. It's at 68.
In like the 40s.
It has evolved.
Over
time.
In my lifetime. How about that? But yeah, no, I will say though, it is annoying seeing like, the whole 4 different teams at each location, and then a whole entire strip of the lower bowl being empty because it's like Utah State's section. I wish they would kind of change that up a little bit so that you can fill in those seats, but obviously that's very tough to do. That's the only bugaboo that I would say.
Okay.
I think having anything. Go ahead, Ryan.
Nothing.
No, I like the way it's been done.
Yeah, I think giving somebody that big of a home advantage, especially when you get down to the Final Four, would be a little ridiculous.
Well, it just would be the first 2 rounds. Like that's the way the women's tournament does it. The first 2 rounds are at the site of the highest ranked team. So if you're a top 4 seed in each region, you're going to have that little pod played at your gym.
I think the issue you run into there, though, is the way that things currently are is the next game has to wait until they clear out everything and reset. Where if things ran over and you still have a set time for somebody who had a home game, then all of a sudden you're overlapping games that you wouldn't necessarily have to overlap in those first 2 rounds.
No, I mean the timing would still be set up the way that it's set up now.
Oh, I have no faith that they would actually get that right. You'd end up with like 7 games on at the same time, and they can't televise all of them. So you're going to ESPN Plus to catch the first 2 minutes of your team's game. No, I'm not here for any of that.
All right. Next question.
You act like you got somewhere to be, Brent. Weird. When the staff approaches a portal candidate, is that automatically public knowledge, or is it up to the player or the school to divulge that info? Can the negotiations be kept quiet until?
How would it be public knowledge if the school or the player didn't divulge it, and the school's not allowed to divulge it by rule?
Until an official agreement is reached, it seems like a non-public approach would be best for the school and current team if you're recruiting over a current player, especially if the odds of landing the portal candidate are spread amongst 8 other teams. Thoughts?
That's one of the reasons that Cincinnati staff keeps things a little bit close to the vest. One, this year, because you have a full roster, like for the most part, like you have to delicately manage whoever you're bringing in, how they fit into the team dynamic. So, UC would like to keep it quiet, but that's not how things work in this day and age. Guess what? Kids have agents. Nobody likes to talk more than agents. Nobody likes to talk more than agents in the sports world. They want, because guess what their job is? To get the best dollar.
Make the most money.
For their player. And the more teams that agent can make everybody think are involved, the better possibility they have of driving up that market value. So it's all business. It's all how you would expect all of this to happen. The school can't make it public knowledge. The kid can make it public knowledge, and 9 times out of 10, the kid wants it to be public knowledge because he wants everybody to know how loved he is so that the price goes up.
He can make the most money. Yep. Who is a current player in the portal you would consider perfect for this team?
Omar Ballo.
Yeah. What do you think about kicking the tires on old Arrington Page again?
Maybe if we have like 4 or 5 open spots.
Page actually is an interesting conversation.
Only because if you're looking to play 4 and 5 and go small like this league is, I think he would certainly be an interesting roster addition.
He gives you something at the 5 that is what we've talked about in terms of he gives you a young guy that could back up Aziz, give you 10 to 15 minutes, and you hope develop into your starting center when Aziz goes and moves on. Page for me is the ultimate, everybody loves his talent. Everybody loves his measurables and his athleticism and his ability to get up and down the floor and just his overall potential. But that is not something we have seen result in production, especially when he's not playing with Isaiah Collier. So it is a risk because you are ultimately making a long play on potential and risking a short-term could we go get a guy that fits this team better now and then worry about starting center, in the portal next year? So I think they'll recruit him. I think they will definitely be involved. I mean, they were obviously, he official visited. He was right there in terms of considering Cincinnati. Those are guys that you circle back with when they enter the portal. It's one of the reasons you don't burn relationships and you maintain steady, steady contact through the recruiting process, so that if it comes back around, then you're already in a pretty good spot in terms of you don't need to meet the parents, and you can speed date a little bit easier with a guy like Arlington Page. So we will see. Again, I think a lot of it comes down to, do they want one guy to fill the 4 and the 5, or do they want a guy for each spot? I do think Page could be a guy that maybe can play the 4 and the 5. But Aaron, I know you like Arlington Page. I'm going to ruin it for you. He likes to hang around the perimeter. He is not a guy that wants to go down and put his back to the basket and get you a bucket. That is not his game.
I think he'd have to obviously translate some things in this offense compared to what he was running, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Brent, anybody who you think is perfect for this team?
Omar Balla.
Ryan, do you know who Omar Balla is?
Is that the guy from Arizona?
Yeah, the giant dude from Arizona that just dunked all over UC the first in Maui last year.
Yeah, we want him.
Yeah, I would like him.
Everybody wants him.
I wonder why.
What's one college basketball rule change you'd like to see?
More definition on what's a moving screen and what's not. They were able to change things on the
block
charge this year and have it be really effective. I think they need to reevaluate like the moving screen criteria and make that a little bit more defined and easier for officials to call.
Move the 3-point line back to NBA.
No.
I hate the 3.
I know, but like the problem is you're so blinded by hate that you want to make things worse. They are not going to start taking less threes if you move the line back. They're just going to start taking more bad ones.
Well, for a team that already shot a lot of bad ones. Brent, anything that you'd change?
No, they shot a lot of good ones and missed. That was the problem.
I'd say maybe widen the lane.
What does that do?
I just like how when they tinker with it a little bit. It's just spacing. I like a little bit of spacing.
Did you think spacing was better in the
NIT? Absolutely.
I didn't. Absolutely. I thought it was the same.
It might mean more 3 in the key on your boy Zach Edey.
Hey, you know what? I'm about to 3 in the key real quick right now. So, but yeah, I don't think too much. No.
At a high level, do you have any insight into how NIL negotiations go down? Do collectives handle the negotiations at the behest of the coaching staff, or are coaches really the ones handling these conversations? Wasn't sure if the rule changed where coaches weren't allowed to be involved.
It's handled by the collective. Look, it's what you think it is, but ultimately, like the collective handles a contract and the money involved and all of that stuff. Are coaches involved? No.
All right.
Why would they be? That's illegal.
What's your ideal TBT Nasty Natty lineup right now based on who would realistically play? What you got, Brent?
Jake, Jaron, Trey,
Gary.
Troy, and Landers.
No Gary.
I don't think Gary would play.
Gary's overseas now, so his NBA run is pretty much behind us, which is why he always was kind of protective about it, not playing. I wonder, would you take Dave over Troy at point guard?
Sure.
Yes.
If Troy's willing to come off the bench.
If Landers was on that team, for sure, I would take Dave over. Just because they've played together. Your facilitator can get it to the bucket getter.
Yeah. I mean, just the overall roster, give me Dave, give me Troy, give me Jake, Jaron, Landers, give me Trey and Gary, and then I'll fill out that last spot with my man Coriante DeBerry because he gives teams problems when he comes into the Nasty Natty.
And then they throw in Mamadou and the other guy who was Fletcher.
Yeah, Fletcher Ellis.
Ellis. I mean, they're like perfect backups.
Yeah.
Just throw their bodies around, athletic as hell.
Yeah. All right.
What are you looking at, Brent?
There's some show on HGTV I'm trying to watch.
Okay.
The Reds are up 10-8, just in case you're curious.
You got to watch stuff too. Come on.
That's the end of the basketball portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the banks. Not sure where to put Bearcat baseball questions as there is no mailbag option on the Uke board. Have the Bearcats at 19-13 and fourth place in the Big 12 at 7-5 and a 12-3 home record. Already exceeded expectations. Grade JB on a scale of 1 to 10 with 40% of the season left to play.
Right now, I'd go A- probably. Like, this looks like a different team. It doesn't look like a team that, the
1 to 10, Chad. 1 to 10.
A-.
So that would be an 8.9.
Right. I went to public school in Kentucky.
Not you, Brent. Where 90s were A-.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna go A- like that, then yeah, like
you're out here with cotillion grades.
It's going great for Jordan Bishel right now. Like I'm really impressed with how this team looks.
For year one, he might be the program that has the most success.
Yeah, and I was worried about his pitching staff. Like I knew they had the bats, and the bats have been good, but their pitching has been way better than I expected.
All right. Can we get someone from the baseball staff on the podcast? They're having a pretty impressive season in the Big 12, and it would be interesting to get someone with the team to talk about them. I don't know if you're familiar with George in the Jungle, but George and I actually had Coach Bishel on right before the season started, where we talked, I think, almost 45 minutes with him.
I also generally, when guys are in their season, man, I leave them alone. I don't want to create an extra have to do on a business day. Like these guys have been kind enough, and I think one of the reasons they're kind enough with our time is because we respect their time, and we look to get them on when it's apropos.
Convenient.
I'll dig around, but my guess is we're going to let them be them right now and try to win games and not worry about the Bearcat Journal podcast.
All right.
Or the BBP, either or. Or George in the Jungle. Or the Nightcap. Or the Bearcat Brunch.
All of the above.
Or the Galactic Fried Chicken Nightcap postgame show. Or maybe a crossover episode.
Oh.
So what would Aaron do if Thursday Taylor comes out and announces she is now sponsoring the press box? Would he still attend sitting in the anti-hero chair? I know Brent would be over the moon.
Oh, I would be. I absolutely would be.
I quit.
You would quit.
I'd quit. No, I'd get a pass that had me on the field. Just start carrying a camera around my neck. It's fine.
You'd be like me and never. I haven't stepped foot in the press box. I don't think in like 3 years.
Yeah, that'll work.
It's not my jam. I don't like the press box. It's pretty. I like the looks of it. It's just not where it's not where my comfort zone is.
I can still sit in those press boxes on away games, just not those home ones. Ugh. Do you see how JJ McCarthy is a similar prospect to AJ McCarron, or is there something I'm missing? Love Dave's input.
That's the wrong podcast, Mark. Dave doesn't work on this podcast, so I have no thoughts on how JJ McCarthy compares to AJ McCarron. Not a single solitary, but like you can hear shit shaking around in there on that question.
Quarterbacks that won championships. Congratulations, you did it.
Yeah, white quarterbacks that won championships. Congratulations.
That go by 2 initials.
Yeah, that's the kicker. AJ or JJ.
Good job. And has a Mick in their last name.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Irish.
All right.
Yeah. Brent, what else you want to talk about?
Oh, I got
Skins
one more.
Didn't have a question.
Skins did not have a question, but I do have one more. It comes from Anonymous.
Expired.
Just so we can finally get it on the record for future show planning, what is the full list of Brent's favorite teams in any and all sports?
Oh wow. I mean, do I need to sure.
All of them.
Yeah, we're trying to eliminate the next time that there's a championship game and you just pick a team and go, my uncle's nephew loved that team, and that's why they've been one of my favorite teams since I was a kid.
My brother and my sister both went to Purdue. My best friend played basketball at Purdue. I was going to go out to Phoenix this weekend. Michigan, my great-grandma lived right outside of the big house. If you walked out to the street right out in front and turned left, you see the big M at the big house. My grandma lives in Ann Arbor. Let's see here. What else we got from Michigan? I grew up a Michigan fan. On
Detroit was one too, right? If I'm not mistaken, Detroit was one.
No,
the Lions.
No, Detroit never conflicted with the BVP.
Oh no, I'm just asking. Anonymous is asking for any and all sports teams that are in your bag.
Bengals are more of my team more than the Lions for sure.
All right,
absolutely, and that's it. And the Bearcats are by far and away my favorite. So there we go.
Remember that.
Easy peasy.
Next year when there's a championship in any sport.
I'm gonna drop a little something here at the end of the show.
That's the mailbag.
I think we could have a monster month in women's basketball. A monster month in women's basketball. Get us out of here, Brent.
That's where we're going to stay. That's where we're going to go. But, hey, man, happy Monday, everyone. Love you guys. Yeah, this is fantastic. Big shouts to Danco, Transmission and Auto Care. Big shouts to Quick Paper Supply. And also, of course, big shouts to my guys, my pals. Oh, yeah, and New Riff with Royer. I love that segment. It's my favorite one. And then, shouts to my guys, my pals, the squad, the crew. For Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer. I am Brent Young. Yet another fantastic BVP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!